as you may or may not know, I am a huge wrestling fan, but I haven't been a fan forever, and that is because I am only 26 years old and only started watching wrestling in 2006. A few weeks ago, I put out a tier list where I ranked every WWE champion since I started watching wrestling in late 2006. So I decided to do that all over again, but except WWE champions, I am going to do World Heavyweight Champions. Between the old World Heavyweight Championship that got unified in 2013 and the newest one that got introduced in 2023, there have been 23 different World Heavyweight Champions. So I'm going to jump in, rank every single one of them. But before I do, please make sure to like and subscribe and put on those notification bells so when videos like this and other daily wrestling content comes out, you can watch those videos ASAP. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you enjoy this video, and let's rank World Heavyweight Champions. We are starting off very hot with this tier list because we are putting Batista in the S tier. Again, I want to clarify just so there's no confusion. I started watching wrestling in late 2006, so the World Heavyweight Championships before that, we're not talking about here. In this case, Batista has won the World Heavyweight Championship on 3 different occasions, holding the belt for 222 days. The first title reign, he had feuds against King Booker, Finlay, Mr. Kennedy, lost the belt to Undertaker at WrestleMania 23 in a pretty damn good WrestleMania match. I will say his second reign was more memorable than his first because he had more memorable matches. I know the Punjabi prison isn't anything to write home about, but as a kid, Batista versus Great Khali in that Punjabi prison was awesome. He had a few more matches with The Undertaker where he beat him at Cyber Sunday with Stone Cold as the special guest and at Hell in a Cell, and then lost the belt to Edge in a triple threat match that also included The Undertaker. And Batista's third reign, 4th overall, but third reign to me only lasted 8 days. He beat Chris Jericho with Stone Cold Steve Austin being the special guest referee again, but then lost it to Jericho like 8 days later in a steel cage match. So that reign didn't really do anything. That reign wasn't really anything. I think he really just dropped the belt so Jericho can lose to Cena at Survivor Series. I'm still going to put Batista in S because when I think of the World Heavyweight Championship, I look at the World Heavyweight Championship, I think of Batista. Like, that belt was perfectly made for Batista. Like, that was made to be on his waist, around his shoulders, and to me, Batista will always be the GOAT World Heavyweight Champion. The next superstar we have up is another big hitter, but we're only putting him in A. We have The Undertaker. I didn't realize that his title reigns really weren't that long until I was doing some research. His first reign only lasted a month, but it consisted of a series of amazing matches against Batista where they fought in a last man standing match, a steel cage match. Both of them were draws, and then Undertaker did lose the World Heavyweight Championship because Edge cashed in on him. And after beating Edge at WrestleMania 24, his second reign only lasted 30 days. He defeated Batista. They love to fight each other, Batista and The Undertaker, but he did lose the belt back to Edge at Backlash. And then the third reign was a bit more memorable. He defeated CM Punk in a Hell in a Cell match. He had wins over Punk, Batista, Mysterio, Chris Jericho, Big Show, lost in the Elimination Chamber because that set up his match with Shawn Michaels, the second one. Did The Undertaker have the greatest World Heavyweight Championship reigns ever? No, like the first two were very short, but they're made up of some amazing matches. And for me, like I started watching wrestling in late 2006. This feud was early 2007 going into like summer of 2007. So this was one of the first major feuds that I got to see, and I have a soft spot for it. So I believe he belongs in A. Could he be lower? Maybe, but we're going to put him in A. Now, the next superstar we have is the only superstar that I think is a fair argument to say is the GOAT World Heavyweight Champion over Batista. Edge has held the World Heavyweight Championship 7 times for a total of 405 days. When I think of the World Heavyweight Championship, I think of Batista, but I also think of Edge because of how many times he held it. And I feel like throughout my childhood, or for as long as that belt was around, Edge held it for the most part. The Undertaker, Batista, Rey Mysterio, CM Punk, Jeff Hardy, Kane, Dolph Ziggler, I don't want to talk about Alberto Del Rio, but Edge had some very memorable moments, matches, and feuds as the World Heavyweight Champion. It is sad because he had to relinquish the belt 3 different times for different circumstances. 2 of them were because of injuries, and one of them being because he had to retire. And then the other one was a stupid, he speared Dolph Ziggler and the move was banned, so he had to relinquish it. They gave it to Dolph Ziggler. It was super stupid, but to me, Batista is the greatest World Heavyweight Champion of all time. But if you think Edge is, it's a fair argument. I'm not going to fight you on it. Oh, we are going from the very top to the very bottom. The Great Khali. Oh my lord. So, Great Khali won this belt in a 20-man battle royal. This was one of the instances where Edge had to relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship. I think this was after his first reign he relinquished it. But the Great Khali wins it. And this probably was one of the worst World Championship reigns in WWE history. He held the belt for 60 days too long. He beat Batista and Kane, I guess, in a triple threat match. He did technically lose to Batista by disqualification at SummerSlam, and that just prolonged the reign. Then he eventually lost to Batista in a triple threat match that also featured Rey Mysterio. Listen, he's big. He's a big boy, and he's very scary, very intimidating. But that doesn't justify him being as terrible as he was in the ring. And this reign it didn't work. It was a huge drop off from Edge to the Great Khali. And I get it, like Edge relinquished the belt. I'm sure the Great Khali wasn't exactly in their plans to be the next World Heavyweight Champion, or maybe he was, I don't know. The Great Khali comfortably sits in the D tier here because it truly was a bad, awful title reign. Next up, we have 3-time World Heavyweight Champion CM Punk, and I'm going to put him in the B category. CM Punk, he cashed in on Edge, winning his first World Heavyweight Championship, and then he lost it. He didn't even lose it. He relinquished it before a championship scramble match, because I guess WWE wanted to put the belt on Chris Jericho for his HBK feud. That's what I read online. I'm not too sure. But the second and third reigns came at the expense of Jeff Hardy. He cashed in on Jeff Hardy after Jeff Hardy beat Edge in a TLC match, breaking young Dante's heart. And then he proceeded to have what was one of the best feuds of the 2010s with Jeff Hardy. He lost it back to Jeff Hardy, then he won it back at SummerSlam in a TLC match. And I have learned to forgive CM Punk, but I will never forget him forcing Jeff Hardy to leave WWE. And as memorable as those reigns were, it still hurts to it. And although CM Punk never had a world championship reign that lasted longer than 70 days, I am going to put him in B because he did make a huge impact when he was champion. And I really do think without these title reigns, and especially that feud against Jeff Hardy, I don't know if CM Punk turns into the superstar that we know him as today. From one heel to another, we have Chris Jericho, and I'm actually going to put him in A. Chris Jericho never held a world championship longer than 50 days, which was pretty surprising. When I was doing this, I didn't realize he only held the World Heavyweight Championship for 106 total days. What he did in those 106 total days is what puts him in A. I do think his reigns, though, were kind of setting Chris Jericho up to be a transition champ, because the first time he won it was to help build up his feud with Shawn Michaels. The second time he took the belt off Batista so he can lose to Cena in Boston a few weeks later. And then the last one, he won the Chamber, won the World Heavyweight belt, so he could have a match with Edge at WrestleMania. So, although they were shorter reigns and may have been used to further stories or, set up other people winning, what he did in those 106 days, like I said, were super meaningful, super memorable. In that match with Shawn Michaels, the ladder match alone, Chris Jericho deserves to be an A. So that's where we're going to put him. Now this one is weird because we have John Cena, who is a 3-time champ, held the belt for 152 total days. His reigns admittedly aren't anything great. His first reign, he did beat Chris Jericho in Boston like we just mentioned, but then he lost it in the Elimination Chamber to Edge, and then he won it right back from Edge at WrestleMania just a month or so later. You can tell that they wanted John Cena to get the big WrestleMania moment, winning the championship. So that's why he just lost it a few months after winning, I guess. And then the third reign, he defeats Alberto Del Rio, thank God. But then he goes on to lose a unification match to Randy Orton, officially ending the lineage of that World Heavyweight Championship. But looking back on it, his first reign was 84 days, and then the other two were 21 and 49, which, I hate to say it, but back when John Cena was around, there was a lot of hot potatoing with those World Heavyweight Championships. He's a 16-time World Championship, and he deserved every single one of them. That is not what I'm trying to say, but a few of them were very short title reigns, and it felt like they were just kind of stat padding those world title reigns. With all that being said, I am going to put John Cena in B. If this was the WWE Championship tier list, which we've done before, he would be an S, clearly. But he's only a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion. He's a 13-time WWE Champion. And the World Heavyweight Championship reigns, it just weren't as good as his WWE Championship reigns. And not for nothing, he beat Damien Sandow, who was cashing in his Money in the Bank briefcase. And that was just fucked. That was just, what was the point? What was the point of putting the briefcase on Sandow if you were going to unify the belts a few months later and have him lose? Like, John Cena was in a fucking, like, his arm was hurt and Damien Sandow attacked him before the match and he still lost. That's bullshit. And honestly, because of that, I should put him down on C. But I'm going to put him in B. I'm sorry if you get mad at me for that, but I think B is a fair place for John. Oh, my heart. My fucking heart. Jeff. It is so frustrating that Jeff Hardy never had a good world championship title run in WWE. Like, this guy held the belt twice. He held the belt twice for only 27 total days. It is such a fucking shame. He beat Edge in an awesome TLC match, only to get cashed in on moments later by CM Punk. We already talked about that. I don't want to get back into it because I'm going to get all worked up. He won it back from Punk eventually, had some defenses under his belt, but the next major pay-per-view, SummerSlam, he lost it right back to CM Punk in a TLC match, and eventually, he lost to Loser Leaves WWE match, and that was it. Didn't come back to WWE until 2017. It pains me that I have to put Jeff Hardy this low because he is my all-time favorite wrestler, but man, WWE just did not know. Well, it was, between them not knowing what to do and also real-life stuff being involved. Obviously, he left the company, and there was a lot of stuff going on, so, like, it is what it is, but I just fucking wish Jeff Hardy had a really good World Championship reign. Just one. I just wanted one. And what actually pisses me off is that someone like Jeff only held the belt for 27 days, but yet we got schmucks like Jack Swagger that held on to the belt for 78 days. And let me tell you, I don't want to be disrespectful, but this is as failed of a project as a failed project could be. This was, this guy never should have won a world championship. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. He was the ECW champion, and he won the United States championship, but a World Heavyweight Championship days after winning Money in the Bank in a very, I don't know if you guys remember, but he was, dangling, trying to get the briefcase for, 20 seconds. He couldn't get it. Just to cash in on Chris Jericho a few nights later. He beat Chris Jericho and Edge in a triple threat match. He beat Orton at Extreme Rules. Big Show won by DQ over the limit, and then he lost to Rey Mysterio in a Fatal 4-Way match, thank God, after 78 days. This was so unnecessary, and the craziest part is they almost gave him the World Championship again at WrestleMania 29 against Alberto Del Rio, and that would have caused quite the stir. Jack Swagger is comfortably joining Great Khali in D because he should have never been a World Heavyweight Champion. And it actually, hurts my heart and my chest and my brain and everything that I'm putting this man in D also. But Rey Mysterio only held the belt once since I have been a fan. That 2006 win at WrestleMania, early 2006, we're not counting. I was not watching wrestling there. So do not get mad at me. Don't get confused. He won the belt in a Fatal 4-Way match, like I just mentioned, against Jack Swagger, CM Punk, and Big Show. He only defended against Swagger once and then got cashed in by Kane immediately after. And Kane, it was a good cash-in because Kane cashed in the same night, first night ever. But Rey Mysterio only had one title defense against Jack Swagger, the worst World Heavyweight Champion in history. But the reign was very forgettable. And I think the only part that's memorable is him getting cashed in on and losing the belt. It really sucks that I'm putting Rey Mysterio in D, but we're only counting that one title reign, and it only lasted 27 days, unfortunately. We mentioned him before. Next guy up we have is Kane. And I'll be honest with you guys, this entire reign was revolved around a feud with The Undertaker. And the feud itself, the story and everything was very cool. I mean, it's the Brothers of Destruction, the two most evil, scary superstars of all time, having a feud later on in their career. The matches weren't anything to write home about, but again, the moments were great. Paul Bearer returned for this. They had a no-holds-barred match, a Hell in a Cell match, a Buried Alive match at Bragging Rights. Although Kane did have some help, Paul Bearer helped him in the Hell in a Cell match, and the Nexus, for some reason, helped Kane in the Buried Alive match. He defeated The Undertaker in 3 straight pay-per-views. I don't think the matches were great, but he defeated The Undertaker in 3 straight pay-per-views. Not a lot of people can say that. I don't even know if anyone else can say that. He lost the belt to Edge in the Fatal 4-Way match, but I think the reign, it was 153 days long. This was a well-deserved World Heavyweight Championship run because I think it was his first World Championship win in 10 years at least or something like that. Although it was built around The Undertaker, the feud was fine. It was just the matches weren't great. But I remember the feud and the moments more than the matches. I'm going to put Kane in B. It's really a shame that I have to put some of these guys in the D tier list because they're so much better than a D tier, but Dolph Ziggler is getting thrown in there. He's only a 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, and the first one we aren't even really going to talk about because he was awarded that championship by Vicky Guerrero because Edge used a spear that was banned, so Dolph just got rewarded the belt and then lost it that night to Pat. Then he lost it that night back to Edge. It was so stupid. But the second reign, as we all remember, he cashed in on Alberto Del Rio. But unfortunately, injuries got in the way. He never had a successful title defense. He dropped the belt to Del Rio. The reign was short-lived. Obviously, injuries played a huge part in it, but it sucks. It really does suck. If he did have a longer reign and didn't get hurt or anything, I do think he'd be much higher on this tier list because I do think he'd have a great reign, but the only thing we remember from it is him cashing in the briefcase, and that's not enough to put him anywhere above D. The next guy we have up is Christian, and this is a guy that also should have held the belt for much longer than he did. He only held the belt for 31 days between 2 title reigns. I'm putting him in C. C for Christian. He beat Alberto Del Rio in a ladder match after Edge had to relinquish the belt due to retirement because of injuries and all that, and it was such an amazing moment. But then he lost the belt a few days later to Randy Orton, and it was like, what? Like, Randy Orton was a good guy at the time, so like fans were happy that Randy won, but Christian just won his first world championship and he loses 4 days later. It was 4 days on television. It was really only 2 because this is when we used to tape SmackDown, so he only held the belt for 2 days. And eventually this led to Christian turning heel. He won the championship back because Randy Orton low-blowed him in a match where if Orton got disqualified, Christian wins the world championship. So Randy snapped, and that gave Christian the World Heavyweight Championship back. But he lost the title less than a month later back to Randy Orton. And it was, the 2 World Heavyweight Championship reigns for Christian were revolved around Randy. The feud was so good. And honestly, the best thing to come out of this feud was the heel Christian. But the fact that he only had the belt for 31 days. That's 1 calendar month. That's 1 calendar month. That is ridiculous. And again, he never even won a championship after that. So he never even got a chance to have a longer reign down the line, whatever. It's a shame. Could be worse. He could be in D. Next up, we have Randy Orton. And I'm going to say the same thing about Orton that I said for Cena. If this was the WWE Championship tier list, it would be a whole lot different. But it's the World Heavyweight Championship, and Orton only won the belt 3 times since I started watching wrestling in 2006. So the first World Heavyweight Championship win against Chris Benoit, we're not counting that. I think the biggest reason why I'm putting Randy Orton in B is because his title reigns really were just revolved around Christian. Like his first 2 were just Christian. He had 1 other defense against Sheamus, but Christian was the special guest referee, so he couldn't even get away from him there. His third and final reign was him unifying the World Heavyweight and WWE Championship. So technically that reign only lasted, like a minute, technically speaking. But I think the moment of him winning it, and just him winning it in general over someone like John Cena, presented him as the top guy. Because this was 2 of the best wrestlers of this generation of all time going head to head to unify the 2 biggest championships in the company. Randy Orton coming out on top is a pretty big moment, especially beating John Cena. So I'm going to put him in B. Somebody gonna get the ass kicked, huh? Somebody gonna get the wig split, Mark Henry, A tier, Hall of Pain, is goated. This man was active in the 91 days that he was a world champ. He had 8 title defenses, and although some of them were no contest and DQ finishes, whatever, he did have big wins over guys like Christian, Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan. The Hall of Pain was so memorable, was so cool, and so deserving. Like Mark Henry winning the World Heavyweight Championship was kind of like Kane, where I don't know when the last time, well actually, he never won a world championship before this. He had the ECW championship, but we're not counting that. Mark Henry winning the World Heavyweight Championship was an incredible moment, and talk about a believable champion. Could Mark Henry be a little lower than A? maybe. But I love the Hall of Pain. I love Mark Henry. I'm putting him there. It's really a shame that I have to put such big name stars in the lowest tier, but the Big Show is going here. In his 2 reigns as World Heavyweight Champion, first of all, the first one only lasted a few minutes because he got cashed in on by Daniel Bryan after beating Mark Henry and ending the Hall of Pain. But the second reign, listen to this. He defeated Sheamus, awesome. Lost to Sheamus by DQ, beat Sheamus in a chairs match, lost to Alberto Del Rio by a countout, beat Ricardo Rodriguez by a DQ, and then lost to Del Rio in a last man standing match on SmackDown. Like, I would love to put Big Show anything higher than D. Like, it really does suck that he is being put in the lowest tier. But when you're fighting Ricardo Rodriguez, that's not a good championship reign. I'm sorry. So the Big Show, I have to put here. He did end the Hall of Pain, so that's something. But when you go from that to having a match with Ricardo Rodriguez, I'm sorry, but you're getting put in D tier. The next guy we have is Daniel Bryan, who only held the belt once for 104 days. He did cash in on Big Show, like I mentioned. I am putting him in C because besides the Elimination Chamber match where he almost lost to Santino and Sheamus, where he lost in 18 seconds, he only had defenses against the Big Show and Mark Henry. And I get it. He's the heel, the smaller heel, trying to find ways to defeat guys like Big Show and Mark Henry, who he has no business being in the ring with. And it really wasn't a great title reign. The most memorable part of the title reign, I truly believe, is when he almost lost to Santino and lost to Sheamus at WrestleMania in 18 seconds. I really think those are the most memorable moments, and him getting cashed in on. But most of the moments that were memorable from this reign were ones where he lost or almost lost. Daniel Bryan had much better runs as the WWE Champion, but as the World Heavyweight Champion, it really wasn't that great. It could be worse, could be in D, but we're going to put him in C. And talk about a title reign that could have been put much higher than where I'm putting it. I'm putting Sheamus at C. This could have been a B or even an A, but half of his title reign was involved in a feud with Alberto Del Rio. He had 5 matches against Alberto Del Rio. 5! What? Why? What was the point of all that? I'm doing my research and I'm looking at all the defenses and everything like that, and I thought there was a glitch or something, seeing against Alberto Del Rio, against Alberto Del Rio, against Alberto Del Rio. He had 4 straight singles matches against him. 4! I know I'm talking fast right now. I get all worked up talking about Alberto Del Rio because this reign started off solid. He had good matches against Daniel Bryan. He had good matches against Dolph Ziggler. Like, the reign started off hot, but just the whole second half of it, or most of it, was revolved around Alberto Del Rio, and I can't put him any higher than C because of that. And speaking of the motherfucker, I want to put him in D so bad, but I'm putting him in C because he held the belt for 223 days. Who the fuck thought it was a good idea to have Alberto Del Rio hold on to the championship for 223 total days? Let's talk about his title reign, shall we? The first one, he defeated the Big Show in that last man standing match like we mentioned. He defended only against the Big Show at the Royal Rumble and Elimination Chamber, and then defeated Jack Swagger at WrestleMania. Yeah, and then he had matches against Christian, Rob Van Dam, lost to Cena at Hell in a Cell. I'm putting him in C because he held the belt for as long as he did, and as much as I disagree with it, it goes down in the history books as Alberto Del Rio, World Heavyweight Champion for 223 total days. So we're putting him in C, reluctantly, and yeah. And now we are moving on to the new World Heavyweight Championship. That was won by Seth Rollins. He held the belt for 316 days. I am putting him in A because no one deserved this reign more than Seth Rollins. He was so due for a World Championship reign, and when they introduced or reintroduced this championship and announced the tournament and everything like that, Seth Rollins was an easy candidate to be inaugural champion of this World Championship. Although there are some people that did get bored of this reign and thought there were multiple occasions where he could have lost the World Heavyweight Championship, he still put on incredible matches against guys like AJ Styles, Damian Priest, Braun Breaker, Finn Balor twice. That was one of the guys people thought could have beat Seth. Shinsuke Nakamura twice, another guy that some people thought could have beat Seth Rollins. Drew McIntyre twice, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and then we threw Jinder Mahal in there. He lost to Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania after main eventing the night before and opening night 2, but Seth Rollins put on an incredible World Heavyweight Championship run. No matter what you say about who could have won the belt during this, who could have taken it off of him, he still had an incredible run, a very memorable one. And honestly, he did the title justice by being the first champ. And I'm very happy he was the one to kind of set the standard for the new World Heavyweight Championship, be the workhorse, and kind of set the precedent, set the tone of how it should be defended and how reign should go after him. Next up, we have Drew McIntyre, which I am just going to throw in D because he only held the belt for a few minutes. As we all know, he got cashed in on after beating Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Damian Priest cashed in on him, becoming the new World Heavyweight Champion. And we're just going to segue into Damian Priest. I'm going to put him at C because it wasn't the most fun or memorable reign ever, but it was fine. He had title defenses against Jey Uso, Drew McIntyre twice technically because Drew cashed in the Money in the Bank, turning his match with Seth Rollins into a triple threat match. Seth Rollins, like I mentioned, before losing to Gunther at SummerSlam because Finn Balor interfered. Priest, I think, really proved himself during this title reign of he can hang with the big boys. He can be involved in the world championship picture because when he was senior Money in the Bank, people really doubted whether he was world championship material. And I'm happy that he proved those people wrong because he did have a fine championship reign. It wasn't anything to write home about. I am putting him in C, but I would like to see him get another shot at a world championship one day because I think he could have an even better reign. And the last guy we have here is the Ring General, Gunther. I'm putting him in B. Okay, and I think that this could have been a C tier list ranking as well because the reign started off as lackluster as it did, but it has picked up steam over the last few weeks, over the last few months. He has wins over Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, Damian Priest and Balor in a triple threat match, and Jey Uso. And as we all know, he's going to be defending his championship against Jey Uso at WrestleMania. I love Jey Uso. Yeet. But I do want Gunther to win because the last few weeks, the last few months, Gunther has brought out this side of him that I wish we saw from the very beginning. His segment with Jay and Jimmy where he murdered Jimmy, I want Gunther to retain at Mania just because of that. Because I want to see that savage. I want to see that hard-hitting, doing anything it takes to defend his championship Gunther. And I want him to hold on to this belt for the next few months at least after beating Jey Uso. But I do think, as much as I want Gunther to win, I do think Jey Uso is going to win. Regardless, I am going to put this in B. It is lackluster because we were expecting something similar to his IC title run, but it's Gunther, it's the Ring General. He has amazing matches, and he's a very believable champ. I'm putting him in B. And there we have it, everyone. That is my tier list where I ranked every World Heavyweight Champion since I started watching wrestling in late 2006. I want to emphasize that, since late 2006. So any World Championship reigns prior to that, we're not counting, like Rey Mysterio, his WrestleMania win. We're not talking about that. Randy Orton's first World Heavyweight Championship win. We're not talking about that. We only have 2 in S, and I did not want to give up that S tier to just everyone. Edge and Batista, I think, are the 2 GOAT World Heavyweight Champions and rightfully deserve to be there alone. It does suck that C and D did fill out the most World Heavyweight Champions, but there were a lot of lackluster reigns, not so memorable reigns, and ones that just didn't last long at all, which, in cases like Drew McIntyre, he probably would be higher on this list if he held the belt for more than 5 minutes, but unfortunately, he got cashed in on right after winning it, so I have to put him in D. Let me know in the comments how you would have ranked every World Heavyweight Champion since late 2006. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think my tier list is perfect, or do you think my rankings are the most dog shit rankings you have ever seen in your life? Let me know in the comments. Also, let me know in the comments if you have any ideas for videos you would like to see me do. If you have any suggestions, ideas, put that down in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you all week. Peace.